you talked about the 5 kinds of hard things in your book. Many young people are probably wondering, you know, if doing hard things, by your definition, means to end the fun in their teenage years. Does it?
Right. No, absolutely not. And we have 2 things that we usually say, because that's a question that people often ask us, especially young people. Does this mean I can never have fun? And the first answer is no, it doesn't. That there is a place for fun and taking a break and hanging out with friends and doing something that's relaxing. And that's part of how God has made us. We need to do that at times. Otherwise, we'll just burn out, and then we'll be, you know, rendered completely ineffective. And the key is to keep having fun and taking a break as being a break from doing hard things and serving God, and not see doing hard things and doing what God has called you to do as a break from pursuing fun.
Right.
Fun is not the main event. But the other thing that we say, and is really important, is that doing hard things itself is a whole lot of fun. We are having an absolute blast with what we're doing, and as we talk to young people like Zach Hunter and others, and we ask them, do you regret that you're just giving yourself to this cause, or you're giving yourself to doing hard things? And they practically explode and say, no, not at all.
Not. Yeah.
That this is so much, I don't regret it at all.
Right.
This is so much more fulfilling and exciting than, you know, a night at the mall or at the movies could ever be. And it's not saying that those things are bad, but that those things in themselves are not fulfilling. They need to be a break from doing this.
Right.
And not the main event.
And so you're saying, you know, you don't want people to use their teenage years as an excuse to, you know, not do hard things, to meet the low expectations that society put on them?
Yeah, well, what we talk about in our book is how the teen years are really the launching pad of life. So it's not just that we're saying, you know, you still should do hard things even when you're teens. We're saying you especially need to do hard things when you're teens, because this is where you're laying the foundation of your life. And, you know, the quote goes, you know, as the twig is bent, so grows the tree. And this is that time. You know, you're still able to affect the future of your life and how, you know, how your life turns out. And that happens by how you spend your teen years. You know, we look at, you know, athletes, you know, basketball players, football, whatever area, they all start when they're young. They all start, you know, how many athletes start playing after high school or after college? Hardly none of them do. But we look at that and we recognize that, but we don't apply that to other areas too. But, you know, you look back at history, men like George Washington or Alexander Hamilton, some of our founding fathers. You know, George Washington, he was a surveyor working in Culpeper County, Virginia, doing, you know, real rugged outdoor pioneer work, measuring and charting and mapping uncharted territory in Virginia when he was 17, earning the modern equivalent of $100,000 a year.
Wow.
And by the time he was 23, he was the commander-in-chief of the entire Virginia militia. 20 years later, exactly, he was the commander-in-chief of the entire Continental Army and went on to become our first president. Alexander Hamilton, at, you know, 33, he was the first Secretary of the Treasury. But 20 years earlier, exactly, at 13, he was a clerk in a counting house. And so, you know, we can see, you know, how the teen years really are the preparation. They are the launching pad for the rest of life. But we just, you know, we just kind of dismiss that. And so many young people live like this is just disconnected and it doesn't impact anything. It's time for me to just float and just do whatever I want. And then I can just flip a switch, you know, after high school, after college, and become mature and become responsible, or, you know, get serious about God or anything that they decide to put off.
And that's not how it,
and that's not how it works. You know,
Right.
these things really are muscles that you have to work out. And if you haven't developed them, they're just not going to be there. And that's why, you know, they've done stories, major stories, and, you know, cover of Time magazine on this new thing called kidults, or adolescents, where you have 20-somethings and even 30-somethings who
beyond
who are still living like teenagers, you know, still just bouncing from job to job, relationship to relationship. They, you know, they probably still live at home with their parents, not, you know, not just to stay close to their family, but just to avoid growing up, to avoid responsibility. And so they have names for this thing in, you know, dozens of countries, because it's just something that's
a phenomenon that's
everywhere.
really sweeping.
And
what it shows is that this modern concept we have of the teen years and of adolescence isn't a biological stage. It really is a sociological mindset, because it carries on. It goes way beyond the actual physical
development. If it just had to do
development.
with, the hormones and all that, it would end, you know. But it doesn't end. It just keeps going, and that's because it's just the way we start thinking. We start feeling like I can just put things off and I can just turn that on later. And what history shows, and what young people like Zach and ourselves, and the dozens of other stories we share in our book show, is that young people can and should be doing great things right now, actually accomplishing more in their teen years than some adults, some people do in their entire lives, and then not say, oh, I'm done, I've accomplished everything in my life, but no, now I have a launching pad to do even greater things in the future. And you look at any great person who's had a successful life, maybe not in the world's definition of success, but a fruitful life of impacting other people, and you can almost always take it right back to their teen years and see how they were preparing then.